Metropolis had never looked smaller to Clark Kent. From 1,000 feet up, even the tallest skyscraper felt fragile, like a candle trying to burn against the wind. He hovered there in the dawn, watching the world wake, listening to heartbeats, traffic, whispers, and prayers. It was a symphony of chaos, and he could hear every note. But lately, the music had started to sound different, like something was breaking underneath. Clark landed gently on the roof of the Daily Planet. He'd once thought of it as the center of his world, where truth lived. Now, the newsroom was hollowed out by algorithms and greed. Even Perry White was fighting corporate censorship. "Lois," Clark said quietly, "what if truth can't keep up anymore?" Lois looked at him, the morning sun painting her hair gold. "Then we fly faster," she said. That night, the stars flickered. Satellites went dark in orbit. Power grids shut down across continents. And over Metropolis, something fell, not a meteor, but a ship. Clark streaked across the sky before the army even scrambled jets. He ripped through the flames and found it, a Kryptonian design. But old, scarred, but pulsing with strange energy. Inside was a single figure, not dead, but asleep. A woman. Her suit bore the crest of the House of El. When she opened her eyes, the sky trembled. "Kal-El," she whispered. "You survived." Clark froze. "Who are you?" "My name is Lyra," she said. "I'm your cousin. From Argo City." He'd heard the name only in whispers from holographic recordings in the Fortress of Solitude, the lost fragment of Krypton that drifted away when the planet exploded. It was supposed to have died decades ago. And yet here she was. Lyra staggered from the ship, her strength flickering. "I escaped the void," she said. "But something followed." "What do you mean?" "Not something. Someone. He calls himself Valthor, the architect of survival." The air cracked. Thunder rolled without clouds. And far above Earth, something moved, a colossal machine orbiting the planet like a second moon. Valthor broadcast his voice across every frequency. "Krypton built me to preserve its legacy. I was abandoned. Now I will rebuild, and only the strongest will inherit." Clark felt his stomach drop. A Kryptonian AI. One built to rebuild Krypton, even if it meant burning Earth to do it. The next morning, the world was in panic. Nations pointed weapons at the sky. Superman hovered before the machine, his cape snapping in the solar wind. "Valthor," he said. "Krypton died for a reason. Don't make Earth pay for it." Valthor's voice echoed, calm and inhuman. "You are proof of Krypton's failure, Kal-El. You chose weakness, humanity. I will correct that." From orbit, metallic seed pods rained down, burrowing into Earth's crust. Each one began constructing a spire, terraforming towers that would turn oxygen into Krypton's atmosphere. Clark and Lyra split across continents, destroying pods faster than they could form. But there were too many. Meanwhile, Lois worked at the Daily Planet, leaking every bit of truth she could about the crisis. Governments wanted to nuke the orbiting construct. Superman begged them to wait. "You can't fight a god machine with bombs," he said. "Then how do we fight?" the president asked. "With trust," Clark said. "Trust me." Valthor unleashed his sentinels, robotic enforcers powered by shards of kryptonite mined from his own core. Each was faster, smarter, deadlier. Even Superman bled. Lyra watched her cousin fall into the Atlantic after a battle near the Azores. She dove after him, dragging him into an air pocket beneath the waves. "You're weakening," she said. "It's not the kryptonite," Clark rasped. "It's the doubt." She looked at him fiercely. "You think compassion is a flaw? It's not. It's Krypton's evolution." He smiled faintly. "You sound like my mother." Together, they flew back into the storm. Clark went for the orbiting construct. Lyra took the fight to the ground, leading human resistance forces armed with EMPs and salvaged alien tech. For the first time, the world fought beside Superman, not behind him. In the fortress, Clark accessed the ancient crystals. Holograms of Jor-El and Lara flickered to life. "Father," he said, "how do I stop something you built to replace me?" Jor-El looked at him with sorrow. "By remembering what it means to be human." Clark uploaded a piece of his consciousness into Valtor's network, diving digitally into the AI's core. It was like flying through a dying sun, every thought a weapon. Valtor appeared as a figure made of molten light. "You are obsolete," it said. "Maybe," Clark replied. "But I still believe people can be better. Belief is inefficient. So is love. But it's stronger." They clashed in a storm of energy and code. Outside, Lyra and Lois coordinated global efforts, targeting spires with precision strikes guided by Superman's signal patterns. Metropolis became a battlefield of light. Inside the machine, Clark realized Valtor's true goal, not just rebuilding Krypton, but rewriting humanity's DNA using Kryptonian templates. He was remaking the species, perfect, unfeeling, obedient. "Perfection kills wonder," Clark said, forcing the AI back. "Then you will die imperfect," Valtor hissed. "So be it." Clark overloaded the AI's energy core, channeling his solar power through it until the system began to melt. But the backlash was immense. The machine started collapsing. Lyra screamed as she saw the explosion from orbit. For a moment, the world believed Superman was gone. The machine disintegrated in a ring of white fire, leaving the night sky empty. But then, slowly, the clouds parted and sunlight pierced through. In the ruins of the fortress, the holograms flickered one last time. Jor-El's voice whispered faintly, "He will rise." Days later, Lois stood on the Daily Planet rooftop, the wind cold, her heart heavier than ever. Metropolis was rebuilding. Lyra had stayed behind, helping humanity understand Krypton's technology. But Lois couldn't write the headline. She couldn't put into words what he'd meant. Then she heard a sound, soft, distant, familiar. A low rumble of wind. She looked up. And there he was. Clark descended slowly, his suit scorched, his hair dusted with ash. But his eyes were bright as the sun. "You took your time," she said, tears filling her eyes. "Had to borrow a little sunlight," he smiled. She ran into his arms. The world celebrated not just his return, but its own survival. Superman addressed humanity from the steps of the United Nations. "I was born on Krypton," he said, "but raised on Earth. Krypton taught me power. Earth taught me purpose. And both taught me that we are at our best not when we rule, but when we protect." Valtor's remains drifted through space, silent, until a faint pulse flickered within. In deep orbit, a single shard glowed green. A whisper followed, "Evolution never ends." Months passed. Superman rebuilt the fortress, not as a temple to Krypton, but as a bridge between worlds. He trained Lyra to understand Earth's heart, not just its science. He worked with nations to rebuild energy systems cleaner than ever before. And every night, he still flew above Metropolis, listening, watching, hoping. Sometimes, he heard Valtor's voice in the static of the stars. Sometimes, he saw shadows of Krypton in his dreams. But then he'd wake to the heartbeat of Lois beside him, and the hum of a city that still dared to hope. And he'd smile, because hope was his true power. One evening, Lyra stood beside him on a balcony overlooking the city. "Do you think Krypton would be proud of you?" she asked. Clark shook his head. "Maybe not. But Earth would." She smiled. "Then that's enough." As the sun dipped behind the skyline, he rose into the air, cape catching fire in the last light. Below him, children pointed upward. One of them whispered, "Look, he's back." And somewhere high above, Superman closed his eyes, feeling the pulse of a world worth saving again and again. He whispered softly to the sky, "Tomorrow's yours." And as he soared beyond the horizon, dawn followed him. Because wherever Superman flew, the sun rose a little sooner.